All right. The first question, do you still remember your first day here when you came to this country? You
Yes. 18th March 2007.
Oh, wow. Okay. And
It was
then
the third day after I got married, so I can never forget.
okay, was it, I mean, I'm sure it was exciting. Like, you
It
come to
was.
a new country. Um, was there anything that was unexpected, anything that you didn't see?
I think it was overly beautiful,
Really?
Seattle, coming from India,
Oh, so
where,
you went from India straight to
yes,
Seattle. Okay.
yeah, it was overly beautiful. There was one thing that I really felt, when you have picture America, I was 3 years old the first time that I'd come to America, so of course I had no, remembrance of America in general. But I always thought the whole America has really huge buildings. So I thought the whole America is like New York. So
Uh,
I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, where are all the tall buildings? Like, I don't see any tall buildings here. So it was like a child moment, like
okay.
you don't know about America, how it is. So it's different. But in general, I think the expectations that I had were always fulfilled in this country.
Okay. How long have you been in the United States now?
9 years,
Nine
9 years
years.
and 3 months.
Does it feel longer?
No, it feels exactly the same. Yeah, it feels just the same. Like, I think things have changed living here, but
Uh-huh.
I think I do remember all my days here.
What do you like the most? Like, what's the best
In,
thing that you can
in
think of?
America or in Seattle?
I think just in general. I mean, I would say in America because I mean, I imagine like my parents when they moved here from different country. I try to imagine what that's like, and you basically did that. So I try to imagine like, okay, going to a different country. Like your English is really good, and
Right.
so but with my parents, it was totally different. And my mother learned how to speak English by watching television.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, and so I imagine like the hardest language I could think of would be German. And like what that would be like if I went and moved to Germany and just try to start my a brand new life there. I just to me it sounds crazy. Like it sounds
Right.
so difficult. But you did that.
Yes.
That's
I
pretty
think
impressive.
the best thing about America is the infrastructure. I mean, it's unbeatable. It's at par. Like, if I only compare it to India, they are so many. Probably they are 80 years behind America in infrastructure.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much that the population, like there's so much overpopulated people in India still,
Yeah.
even after so many people have migrated. It doesn't do any best for them, for the country. And I feel when you come to America, it's so systematic. Everything is, when we grew up, there was nothing called a social security number. I mean, I always think about the fact that
Okay.
in India, people can be criminals. You basically don't have any real information about any person. They can have so many identities. They don't have anything like that.
Like an average day back in India, like what would that compare to like an average day here?
They like how?
Such as like if you wake up here, you do certain things, in the morning, and then you walk outside the
Oh,
door and
it's
like
totally different. Everything is different. Like, we have household help in India just because labor comes really cheap.
okay,
Uh, there's a lot of uneducated people in India that come from really small villages.
is that the caste system kind of working there? Okay.
Caste system is existing, but we pretty much don't know about it because, we've lived in bigger cities and towns.
Okay.
Uh, Caste system do exist, but it's mostly in villages in India.
Okay.
And
So it doesn't
we
have to do with like north or south, it's more just in
no,
villages.
it's just villages, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't exist in the local cities or metros or towns anymore.
Okay.
Uh, it's just like subsection of the society who still believes in this caste system. But in general, because of the population, there is a lot of uneducation and poverty in India,
Okay.
in these smaller areas, that these people come to bigger towns or metros or cities um, to work, and that's why labor comes cheap in India. So let's say for a typical day for us, let's say if somebody is working, I mean 99.99% of people has household help. They come, you'll get like maids who will come in the morning, they'll clean the floor, they'll do your utensils, they'll cook for you. Most of the people even have cooks these days.
Oh, wow.
And cook is kind of a luxury still, I'll say, because they are expensive. But household help, like cleaning the whole house, is in converted to dollars, it'll be like probably $10 for a month. And they come every day, $10 to $20 a month.
For the whole day.
No, for the whole month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You're paying like $25-$30 an hour for somebody.
Oh.
Imagine that you pay for the whole month to somebody. So that's how labor comes, and that's why everybody has labor. And because they're a population, I mean, that thing never ends, right? There's like the
Yeah.
cycle keeps going on.
And then here?
Here, when you come, you're kind of shocked and overwhelmed because you are pretty much from day in and day out doing everything by yourself. Somebody like me who's raised in a family that, is like an influential family.
Yeah.
Like my parents do really well for themselves, and I have pretty much not even washed one utensil by myself throughout my 24 years of my life.
Uh-huh.
But we were raised in a way that when we have to do it, we need to do it. So although we had those stars in our house, we were grown with a lot of luxury. We were always taught to respect everybody and, learn everything to do by yourself when the time comes. And that's what I've learned in this country. You're a multitasker here. You go to work, you make your own food, you carry your own food, you have to still clean the house, you have to still clean the dishes, you still do your own laundry, you still iron your own clothes. There is not even once in my 24 years of my life that I've ironed my own clothes in India. It goes to a guy who actually does your ironing outside. Like we have laundry here.
Yeah.
It's really cheap. It's like 2 rupees for one clothing. 2 rupees is like 10 cents.
Wow.
So, I mean, of course, like let's say if you're paying 10 cents for one shirt, I mean, why would you want to iron your clothes, right?
Yeah.
It's that cheap. Like these kind of labor comes cheap. So if you compare that to America, I mean, you understand me now where I'm coming
It's
from.
terrible.
Yeah, so that's our life. Like the only thing we do there is do our own stuff and go to work and come back, and somebody has probably even cooked food for us and kept on the table. We don't even have to heat our own food. You call a guy who's probably an in-home help or a full-day help, and he'll keep the food ready for you.
What was like your driving force to come here?
I mean, for me, I didn't have an option because I got married and Abhi used to work in America. So my only option was to come stay with him. So
Okay.
I did not come with an option of not coming here. So it was like either I get married to a guy who's settled here,
Yeah.
or I don't get married to him. And then not getting married didn't make sense because I fell in love with him. So
Yeah.
I had to come here. And plus, I always wanted to explore America because I have an elder brother who did his master's and PhD in this country. So I always wanted to come here because I've always heard only good things.
What was your impression of American culture before you came here to this country?
I guess the year and the generation that we grew up,
Mm.
I am just at the urge of being a millennial,
Yeah.
if you know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So during my generation, people were not really fast. Like, our generation was kind of slow, like in terms of clothing. We were kind of conservative where I came from. So like wearing short dresses. So, but the city that I went to study, so it's different.
So it was more
People
like
were more open
westernized.
about things.
It was more westernized, like you.
Yeah, more westernized.
Okay.
So it's different when you go from different towns. And the reason I'm talking to you about my generation because now everything is same.
Okay.
This generation that is growing up,
It's
let's say
just
the age is all same.
okay.
Everybody is westernized completely.
Okay.
But when I was growing up, or when I grew up and I went to different cities, it was like a change, Western change. People were hiding behind to smoke. People were hiding behind to having girlfriends, boyfriends. Now it's open. It's a Western, they say it's a Western culture, right? Because according to Indian culture, we do shy away from things. Everything is like a shying away. The clothing is different, ideally. So Western culture is always adapted in India. So when you come to this country, you're like, and I feel that because Indian culture in general was a shy culture, people were that generation would hide things behind parents' back and do it, right? In like even when you hear about rapes in India, why do they happen? Because these people are not exposed to women wearing short clothes. So when they see these women in bigger metros or cities,
Oh,
they go crazy. While compared to American culture, you are raised, right? You're always wearing, I mean, girls are always wearing shorts and tank tops, or it's a culture, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
how you're grown up. So men are also grown up seeing women like that, their own parents like that. So there's nothing wrong about it.
No.
That so men don't, I mean, if you just talk about rape, why don't you hear about cases in America? Because men have all the freedom, right? They've always seen women like that. Compared to India, these people that I'm talking about, they come from these really small towns where the women are in covered completely from top to bottom.
Okay.
It's behind a sari.
So
Like,
if they were to see a woman dressed like they would here, they would
yeah,
almost be almost
they go
uncontrollable.
crazy because they've never seen a woman, not their own wife like that ever. So I think, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's the only difference between those two.
Yeah, I mean, did you find any of those like I guess how like with your impressions of how the American culture was when you got here, did you find any of those like reaffirmed? Like, oh,
I
that
felt it was
like
for
that was
good. Yeah, and I felt that was for good because I feel if our parents can allow us and give us that freedom
yeah,
of speech, of clothing, uh, we can be better kids for the parents because they don't allow freedom of speech and clothing and a lot of different things.
okay,
We hide and do things that should not be done, behind closed doors. If it's more that friendship is created with the parents, and as I'm saying, it's changed now, but this is my generation while growing up. Now the parents are kind of different. Everybody is modernized, everybody is westernized. So I won't say it's the same anymore.
not at all, right? It's completely changed, huh? Out with the
Yeah,
old,
it's
in
all
with the
changed.
new.
Parents have become friends now because they
Oh,
know
really?
that kids are going to, yeah, parents are becoming their kids' friends, best friends now, right? They want to know everything about the kids.
Oh, yeah,
I
it's
mean, I'm talking about a generation where we did not have cell phones.
like, is there something that you feel like a person coming from India, coming to the United States has to be like in order to like acclimate?
Just basic, I think, etiquettes, infrastructure. Like, I feel every person should once come to America, get a free ticket, and learn these basic things about life in general. Like, I just told you, but like these basic infrastructure things, like crossing the road,
Mhm.
or etiquettes about general life revolving around themselves. How do you treat people at their level?
Okay.
It's different in India where people are coming from, but these are the same people. When they come to this country, they change. But when they go back to their country, they become what they came. You know,
Oh,
some things
back what they used to be.
Yeah, and
Okay.
when even they are visiting that country, they become what they were. They forget that what they are here, how they have changed for good.
Uh,
I'll tell you an example of taking a flight to India.
okay.
Okay. So Indians always like to hurry up on things like getting into the line. I want to go first in the plane so I can get my baggage
Yeah.
right up my head.
Yeah.
Okay. If you ever notice Indians, they'll be the first people. When you're calling for seat numbers, most of the times they'll be in the wrong seat number aisle because they want to go first. They want to have the baggage right above their head. I don't know, that's just typical for Indians. And being Indian, I don't do that, but I don't like people when they do that because it spoils our country's name.
What do what do people here know about like your home culture in your eyes?
About our culture,
Yeah,
Indian
Indian culture.
living, I like people from here.
Yeah. What do you feel people know about?
I think people, as much as I've spoken to people, I think people have known about our food.
Yeah.
People have known about Taj Mahal.
Okay. Yeah.
People have known about I, people from India are very warmth and friendly.
Yeah.
And what else? I'm just thinking now. There's so much, but I don't have thought words right now to realize. There's so
Have
much.
any of
I've
them like been like really accurate, like were spot on, where it kind of surprised you, like, oh, okay, like you kind of, or nobody, it's, or is it people are just so detached from the Indian culture here in the United States that it's everything's new. So I mean, like it's just two cultures. Even though there's a lot of people coming in to this country from India, it's just it's night and day, the cultures almost. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, because of just most likely probably what you've been talking about from the beginning is just that infrastructure,
yeah,
and like consequences and things
yeah.
like that. Is there anything that was just like that somebody here was able to like figure out, I guess?
I think languages.
Okay.
How many languages that we really speak, and so many dialects that we have. I mean, people do know about it, but they are kind of shocked about that fact that in actual how many languages we have.
Okay.
Um,
Is there anyone that's not accurate? That somebody like goes, "Oh, aren't Indian people like this?" And you're like, "What are you talking about? Like, it's not even close." Like, I don't know where you got that from, the movies or something. Like, is there
yeah, I
something
think
that somebody like assumed that you were like, or that Indian people, Indian people were like, that were just like completely wrong,
yeah, I
or even
think there was
mostly maybe even offensive?
yeah, I think there was one thing I remember now that you're mentioning about it. The first time I came to America, I think my English was always really good because we went to English schools, like
Yeah.
English medium schools, in the sense that English becomes the first language, and then Hindi, which is our national language, is like the second language,
Okay.
which is a mandatory to learn, but it's a second language. Um, so when I came to this country, and I remember walking with Abhi and meeting some of his colleagues, they were just shocked that I just knew English.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean I know English? Like, what do you think
Yeah.
about India?
Yeah.
Like, don't we like know English? Like, how do you see so many Indians working in this city? Like, just in this city. They're like, oh, like we thought they learn English, like, but I'm like, I don't know what you mean by learn English, but the reason that these people are working in big companies like Microsoft is
Yeah.
because they really know English well.
They can
Their
communicate.
accents may be different.
Yeah.
Accents, of course, may be different, right? Because we don't speak this English in this accent usually. It's kind of a slower accent. It's different.
Yeah.
For every country, it's different. But that was kind of offensive in the sense that I realized that there was unawareness about India.
Yeah.
More than offensive, I felt that it was more unawareness. Like, what do you think India is like? It's a great country. It's progressing. Yeah, it has its own problems and issues, but I think every country has them. But the reason that so many Indians are around the corner is because India is very, very popular for their culture about studies, higher studies, and education. And English is very important to India. they make a point that most of the schools do speak English. It becomes their first language.
What do you think the reason is for that? For that
And
that perception? Is it just like a message,
firstly, there
ignorance,
are kinds of
education?
people in this country, people who like us
Yeah.
and people who hate us. And people who hate us doesn't mean like hate, like in the sense they really dislike us because they think that we've stolen their jobs.
Oh.
So that's a dislike for Indian community. And I know because I have seen those people
Of
who
course.
like the Indian community because they think that we have taken up their jobs. But the reality is, nobody can take nobody's job. If you're good, you're there. If you're not good, whether you were an engineer or the best software engineer, you don't belong there because you're not good enough.